We are a group of care experts with a vision of creating a world where care experienced people are thriving, not just surviving.
We share our knowledge and experience to inform, uplift and empower young care experienced people to navigate the conflicts and challenges of life.
In this season, we cover a range of different topics, all with a focus on personal development, from relationships, mental health and trauma, thinking about success and reimagining the care system.
We know that some of these topics can be triggering, so before you listen, have a read of the summary so you can get an idea of what we'll be talking about. And as always, look after yourself and reach out if you need support.
Welcome back to season 2 of Let's Talk Conflict. So we're going to start by a go round like we always do, just a check in. So how is everyone? How's our week been? Mine has been just quite lazy, to be honest with you, after the Christmas period, just binge watching lots of Netflix. So I'll pass it on. I'll pass it to Alice.
My week's been pretty good. I bought some adult colouring books. So yeah, I've just been colouring. I'm pretty creative, so I found it really quite enjoyable. And I will pass it to Anya.
My week's been a bit up and down. I've been sleeping most of it. I've had a really bad migraine, which my migraines can make me feel like my brain is on fire. So I've just been trying to sleep through it. But apart from that, it's not been too bad. I will pass to Shanika.
Thank you, Anya. My week has been good as well. I've had a long break from work, so I'm just getting back into the swing of work. All is well. And I'll pass to George.
Hi everyone, I've had a good week. Had some good news with a job interview, so I'm looking forward to doing that. But yeah, I'm just cracking on at the moment as well. I'll pass it to Leanne.
Hi everyone. My week's been good so far, pretty productive. I'm just making sure that I get back onto committing and dedicating time to myself, health and fitness wise.
Being care experienced, we know that one of the biggest internal conflicts that we face is whether we are going to be successful. Often we are not encouraged to have big goals or encouraged to succeed. So I'm just going to ask this question, how do we define success? And I'll start off by myself. I don't think there's any measure in success. I think when people typically think of success, they think of CEOs or people with loads of money. But being successful is everyone's got their own individual opinion on it. But I'd say for me, success can be that I've had a great day. I've got up, I've brushed my teeth, I've done everything I've had to do that day. Or it could be that I've got a job, or it could be working towards something, working towards a driving license, you're working towards that goal. And then once you achieve it, that's success because you've got that. I don't think I see it as the way other people see it, having loads of money. I don't think that is success in a way, but because you can be successful in a business and things like that, but there's small things that make you successful that I don't think people really think about and take into consideration sometimes.
I agree with what you said. There's different ways of success. For me, success sort of means what you said, waking up, brushing your teeth, or getting your chores done in your house, or being able to go out, meet friends and family, or things like that.
I think that's a really interesting question. Personally, I define success by anything that makes me feel achievement or a good kind of satisfaction, a feeling of satisfaction. I think success really is the way you see things, not necessarily what you have in your life. I feel we often don't take into account the fact that as care experienced people, we start at a lower starting point, or a different starting point to our peers that aren't care experienced. A lot of my friends, when they turned 17, got a car. That's not necessarily their success, but they are benefiting from the success of their parents. We don't necessarily get that. So we have to start from scratch. And I think for myself, I had to be really careful not to look at my peers that aren't care experienced and compare myself, and sit there and go, oh, I haven't got that, I haven't got this. And then not only did I feel I'm not achieving enough, I'm not doing enough, I need to do more, I also felt like I wasn't worthy enough. So I've learned I don't link my success to my self-worth. I'm worthy whether I'm successful or not. And I've also learned to take into account my starting point compared to others. Not, don't beat yourself up because you don't have that, because your situation's different. And also, I don't link success to materialistic things. I mean, yeah, I want to be able to get somewhere to live. That's a given, because I need that to live. I need that for safety, warmth, that's something that you need, but I wouldn't necessarily call that a success. But yeah, I much rather measure my success on the happiness of myself. Like when I became disabled, I really had to rethink what I thought success was, because a lot of the things that in my mind I thought success was, I physically can't achieve that anymore. So I've had to reevaluate what that is. And I think that we always have to reevaluate what success is and how it's going to improve our lives, because like I said, it's a mental attitude. It's a perspective of success. If you change that and you realise that, yeah, getting up and brushing your teeth in the morning, tick, that's a success, you're going to feel a lot more like you're achieving things than, oh, I don't have that job I want, I don't have this, I don't have that. Change your outlook and you will start to feel like you're achieving more. And that's just my perspective on it. Leanne?
I personally feel like as you get older, certain ways how you define success change. And I feel like it's one of those things where success can look different every day that you wake up. And it's all depending on what's thrown at you and what you get stuck into. And success is just as important, keeping in mind that you don't have to do everything in that day as well. I don't look at success in a time constraint manner as I did when I was younger, where now I will use it as a guideline, but I won't freak out too much if I don't get it done, because I know there's workarounds and I've made success work for me instead of me working for success. I try and have that framework where success can work for me actually. What do I want success to do for me? So it's easy, simple things like making my life easy, like pre-sending something on an email instead of stressing all over it, and just doing it a day in advance if that makes my life easier. So I think it's the perception, actually, just making sure success works for you as much as you are working for success. Because if you're having that perception and you're building up so much more of a imagination in that kind of thing, sometimes you lead up to it and then, you can have a knockback if that vision of success isn't what it feels like.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I had that mindset where if I didn't succeed, then I wasn't as good, or I could never be as good, especially playing a sport where a lot of the time if you don't win, there's a lot of consequences, and that's not only physical things, it's also on yourself. You do feel worthless, or you don't feel as good. And but now I've gotten a bit more mature and older, and I try and look at the process rather than the outcome. And it's, I might have lost that game, or I might not have got that job, but it's the process and what I could have done, what's in my control, that I tried to kind of really focus on now, because that's something that if I can do those things, then usually I do get the outcome I'm looking for. And it's more about I'm making sure that the success is that I've done the things I can do, rather than the achievement in itself. So I think it's definitely like you've all said, it's that perception, but it's very, very easy, especially when it's being sort of reinforced every day, like it was for me, where the next day, if I don't win that match, then this could happen, that could happen. I'm not going to be, I'm not going to get this opportunity. I might not be able to play for this club. So it's a very physical thing, even though it is emotional. But it's the only way to kind of change that mindset is to think about the process more than the outcome.
Thank you, George. I think with success, I can relate to what you're saying around success and how we defined it. I think it's very important to define it for yourself, because I think within society, it's very materialistic, and with the age of social media and everybody's lives are in front of you, and people tend to kind of show off what they've done, and you kind of fall in this trap of comparing and thinking, oh, but I haven't done this. But I think sometimes for me personally, you can go down that rabbit hole of like, oh, I need to do more. Or it's finding that place where you're happy that you've overcome so many challenges, personally for me, because I've been through a lot in my life, and realizing the challenges that I've overcome to get this far and to like be at the stage that I am at, is success within itself. The fact that I've survived the care system, the fact that I'm able to get a job, the fact that I'm able to maybe lose a job and then get another one, it's that process, and learning from even places where I could have done better, learning from that. So I guess I think with success, you have to define it for yourself and not compare, especially if you're a care experienced person, because our lives are different. It's so different. We all start different. We all have different traumas that we're trying to heal from. So we have to define it for ourselves and just be grateful for the things that we have and that we're here. So that's how I look at success now. I never always used to look at it that way. But yeah.
I think you're a lot more grateful in that way as well, because you appreciate the things that you're gaining in the process. Whereas if you're only focusing on the outcome, that feeling will go away quick enough as it comes, really. And you want to chase the next one, the next one, the next one. It's kind of the circle, really.
Yeah, it's like that saying, it's either a blessing or a lesson. And I feel like, why can't it be both? Like, I learned a lesson, and at that moment, it was awful. I was like, oh my God, I shouldn't have done that, or that was a mistake. But you learn that was a blessing. Sometimes I'm like, I'm so glad I made that mistake, because I've just learned something so important that's going to help me for the rest of my days. So yeah, it is really about, like, sometimes you think that's a terrible situation, but once it's happened, you're like, right, what can I take from that? And learning to find success in the failures is where it's at.
Agree.
Yeah, I totally agree as well. How has your perception of success changed? And I'll start off by saying I think my perception changed from being a young person to an adult. I'd say when I was younger, when I was at school, like, success was like getting an A, like passing that test, passing that quiz. And then as I started to grow up, like, social media started to take off, and I looked at fame as like, that's like the ultimate success. Like, you can have like all the cars, all the money, and then watching things like Sweet 16. And then like, I'm realizing now like how toxic that is. Like, you turn 16 and get like a hot pink Bentley that you can't drive. And I think like it depends on like what you watch. So I was like, oh my God, I don't have that. Like, where's my Bentley? Like, I'm 16, and like, that is just so unrealistic for so many people. And then like, as I've got older, like, it kind of, I grew up and I changed, and I'm like, well, not everyone lives like that. Like, only a small percentage of people do live like that, and it's not like their success for turning 16, it's like their parents' money. And then like, success for me, it was like gaining my first job, like having my first wage, like going out to like buy. And they always tell you your first wage, you blow it, and it's true. Like, you always do, and you forget about the bills you need to pay. But then like, after that, like, for me, like, became like personal goals that I wanted to achieve, like fitness goals, and then jobs and like education as part of it. Like, you do feel successful when you get that certificate or whatever. But like, sometimes like, it's like relationships, like, you can be like successful in relationships like when they're going really well. I think it all just depends on how you look at things, like how you think. I got a dog and I'm a successful dog owner. It's these simple things, like, I learned how to do my makeup, like, I'm successful in doing eye makeup. It's like, it doesn't need to be all round about like money and material things. It can be like things that you've worked on. It definitely changed through time for me. That's my opinion.
When I was younger, it was difficult to like have them aspirations, and then when you do grow up, especially like say with social media, it's like in your face where they've got this, they've got that designer brand, that, you know what I mean? And it's like, you kind of feel you're never going to get there. But at the end of the day, like, it's not really about that. It's more about where you've come from and where you are. I feel like that's a really important thing to remind yourself, because like I said earlier, there's a lot of things that remind you that it's not like that. but really it is, and it's down to you to keep on reminding yourself about it.
My perception of success has changed drastically. When I was a teenager, unless I was a millionaire / billionaire, right? That was I might not be a millionaire. I might not be a billionaire, but I'll definitely be a millionaire. And I'll have a husband, children, I'll have millions of cars, I'll have my own private jet. Literally, that's what I thought success was when I was younger. And as I've grown up, I've thought to myself, like, what do I actually enjoy? And everything I enjoy literally requires a few quid. And I'm like, why do I want all that stuff? I'm huge on sustainability. I don't want a huge house because I'm going to have to use so many resources to build it, heat it. Like, I'm one person. I don't want a husband anymore. I don't even want a boyfriend. And kids, maybe. Like, it's so different now. I am all about what can I do so that I can have those happy moments. You know, I don't need material things. Like, honestly, my mum had to beg me to buy more than 2 dresses because that's it for me. I'm fine. As long as I've got something to wear and I've got one in the wash, one to wear, one in the wash, one to wear, like, that's it. I'm fine. I don't need anything else. I'm very, very basic, but I will always have like a pack of colouring pencils and a colouring book or some paints. Like, that's what I enjoy. I love growing food. I love my dog. Like, those are the things that give me immense pleasure. And that's all I want. Now I want a tiny little shipping container converted into a house with solar panels on the roof and a special like sustainable toilet and water system and all that kind of thing, and a plot of land that I can grow my vegetables on and fruit. That's all I want now. That for me is the ultimate success. I don't have to rely on earning loads of money. I'm literally off the grid. I'm making my own power. I'm growing my own food. What else do I need? Like, I can literally just explore the wonderful countryside. Like, do you know what I mean? I don't need anything else. So yeah, it is drastically changed since I was young. And again, becoming disabled, I had to reevaluate like what is possible for me. Living in that little shipping container house, I'm gonna have to make it like wheelchair friendly for when I'm having my really bad days. That's the kind of thing I think about now. Like, could you imagine the pressure you put yourself under if you're just wanting all these money and things, and you're never going to enjoy it when it finally gets there because, oh, I want the next phone now. Like, I've got that one, I want the next one. Like, it never ends. It never ends. So yeah, that's how mine has changed.
For me, I think my perception of success has changed where I was doing things maybe less individually before. So like my younger days, like I probably saw my success as what my peers were doing and like trying to like not compete, but you know, try and be as close to their success as possible. Where now I'm not really ashamed if my idea of success differs or I'm doing things at my own pace. I would definitely say I'm more in control of my success and how I want to plan it. Being care experience, like I think a lot of people who are not take for granted how much they can actually like sometimes plan what they want to do with their lives, instead of being like sometimes subtly told like actually are you like it being like what's the word, how do I put it, like if you have some grand scheme of something that you want to do, always be like double check, like are you sure you want to be doing that, are you sure, and like sometimes it being knocked off you. So yeah. I'm more confident, if you get what I mean. Yeah, I'm more confident with like just saying, yeah, that's what I want to do. And my success has been a bit more stronger in making staying firm to my goals and what I want to do. Because I don't always check now for validation, because I think that's what slowed me down in the past. Always check from people. And sometimes you're having a conversation and it's kind of like me owning the fact that, thank you, I didn't ask for your advice, I asked for you to listen. That makes you more empowered as well. Like, you're going about your goals, and there's nothing wrong with keeping them in private and like announcing it when you feel or never announced it. Like I don't part of the validation thing that I've removed for me is telling people what I've done, what I've achieved and stuff, because you know, sometimes I feel like that counteracts the fact that you're doing it for yourself. You don't always have to tell people what you've done. Like, let them speculate.
That's great.
I totally love that, Leanne. I came across a quote and it was like, if you don't tell anyone, no one can stop you from what you're going to do. It's like they're either going to encourage you or they're not, because like, they're worried about your failure. So
yeah,
that's definitely something I've learned, like in terms of like projection. Sometimes they're telling you they can't do what you want to do instead of take it that way. So yeah, I've definitely learnt my lesson in that sense. I'll tell a few close friends, but I wouldn't go out of my way to tell like the whole world. Like the way we see on social media and stuff. Like, you never see the struggle in between the glitz and glam.
Yes, very true.
What positive outcomes have you achieved? So I'll go first. Like, I think I've achieved quite a lot, and I think definitely like gaining my own house and my tenancy was like up there, one of the big ones. But I think like the people around about you just like they pushed me, and it's like that became like my only kind of goal was to like gain my own tenancy, like gain my own house. But like it was never ever like that is part of it. Like there's more. I never ever get encouraged to like go into higher education or to like kind of like reach for the stars, because like anything is possible. Like if you work hard for it, like you can achieve anything that you want to achieve type thing. I was never like told that or encouraged, and it was kind of like, well, I've got my house, like I've got it, but then I'm like, well, there's like more work that I want to do, or there's like gaining higher education. Like I think that there's like no wrong path for like how you measure like your success and how positive it is. Like there's nothing wrong with like leaving school, doing an apprenticeship, going straight into work, and then going to uni like 10 years later. Like I don't think there's any issue with that, rather than jumping into a uni course that you're not sure about, then taking a year off, and then like there's nothing wrong with that either if that's like what anyone's done. Do you know what I mean? Like I think it depends on what you want and when you're ready for it. I know there was a chance for me to get a house before I got my house, but I don't think I was actually ready for it then. And then there's been chances to go back into higher education, but I just wasn't ready. Like, I think there needs to be right time for you like to achieve your success or achieve your goals. Like there's no point in rushing it. Like we've got a lifetime, however long a lifetime is. Like just keep building on it. Like keep building and like self-development. Like I don't think I'll ever stop try to better myself. Do you know what I mean? Like I've got my morals, like I've got the stuff that I want to do and achieve this year. I always, when it gets down to like a new year, like I set my new goals for that year. So I don't think I'll ever change that. Anyone else want to jump in?
I think like through what I've done so far in my life, I can definitely say I've achieved a lot of things, and a lot of things that like other people haven't achieved. But I'm not necessarily like proud of that. Like in itself, it's more the kind of softest things that have happened, like the people I've met, the friends I've made, and it's more like that I had that outside of what I was as a care experience person. I had that sort of normal thing that I could do. I could go and be a sports person with my friends, and I could socialize, and that was always positive, even though in that a lot of the times I was lost and I didn't necessarily know where I was going or what kind of success I was gaining along the way. But I always sort of felt that it was a positive thing and it would have a positive outcome. So I mean, all the experience I gained through table tennis has been like amazing. I've lived abroad for 4 years, played for England. I've won like British titles and stuff like that. So I wouldn't have been able to do that if I wasn't doing that positive thing and doing something else.
And your degree?
Yeah, and a degree. But I'm more proud of the other positive things that's led to that, and it's made me a better person. I think a lot of people that win, like especially in sport, they're, want of a better word, arseholes. and they are like full of themselves, and they are, but morally, like that's not who I am.
For me, when I look at my life and like the successes that I've had, mainly the educational focus, because for me, education was everything.
Me too.
But I guess if I look back, I would say I did it because I knew it was something good and I enjoyed it. But there wasn't people around me that were motivating me or telling me I can achieve or do well. But I guess when I started in, I think it was year 9, I had a few mentors. And I remember specifically, she's the person that actually encouraged me to go uni. So what I've noticed is that you can have this drive, you might love something, but if you don't sometimes have that support around you, you probably don't even know what uni to go to. You probably don't even know what course to do.
Yeah.
So you kind of need that guidance. And I'm thankful that I met her and that my school had that mentoring program, but because a lot of people don't have that. I think that was one positive for me on my journey, I guess. And as you get older, you kind of realize that you have to do it for yourself. You have to find that strength within you to believe in yourself that you can do it, you can achieve. And that's where you have to find that source somewhere. For me as well, I use my faith at times to do that. But yeah, it's tricky, but we'll get there. I think it's not giving up. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Not giving up. Just don't ever give up.
Yeah. I wanted to say really quickly as well, like one of my most positive outcomes is finally achieving my degree, and not for the sake of the degree. It's because my degree should have taken me 3 years. It took me 8, and I never gave up. Like I changed unis twice because of issues that weren't my fault. It was out of my control, and it kept pushing me back and pushing me back. And so many times I thought to myself, is this a sign? Should I not be doing this? But it wasn't a sign, and I kept going. And I think there's success as well in, keeping at something, being determined, and keeping going even when the odds are kind of stacked against you. But yeah, that's my most positive outcome, because it's not always about the achievement. It's what you learn, and it's the determination and the learning about who you are in the process.
What are some of the challenges, positive things that have helped us on our journey? What have we learned? What skills have we gained? And what would you tell our younger selves? I'd say things that have helped me in my journey, I think it's been mentioned before, I think support. I think like everyone needs a bit of support every now and then, but like you have to believe in yourself. But then you get the moments where it's like you're like, oh my God, like, is this worth it? Am I going to achieve this? Like, and just to have that one person like, no, I believe in you, like you've got it, like, because everyone suffers with like self-doubt, and like skills and things like that. Like I think care experienced people like have different skill sets to what the typical average person is, and I think one of the main ones is like we have so much more resilience like over other average people our age, like they haven't like learned or kind of developed that yet. So I say like that's like these skills like are really important, because like you can go for a job and you don't get it, and it's not that it doesn't phase you, like it does phase you, but like it makes you more, like for me, like it kind of like lights that fire under me, like right, okay, well I didn't get that one, but like I want the next one, like, and I'm a firm believer like what's for you like won't go by you. And what I would tell my younger self is like be patient, because I think at one point like I wanted this and I want that and I want that and I want that and I want that, and the majority of it was just like materialistic things, and it was like want over need, like, and now like I'm like that, like do I really need that extra t-shirt? It's like £4 in the sale, and I'm like, yeah, I'll just get it because I want it. But like I think it's grown up, you change. Do you know what I mean? So like I would tell my younger self that it's all right, like you're going to stumble a few times, but then you're going to get back up, you're going to put the running shoes on, and you're going to achieve what you want in your life. Like got a whole lifetime, like don't be unhappy. If you want something, get up, brush your teeth, brush your hair and go get it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I would tell my younger self.
Something that I've learned as well is you need to walk before you can run. And I would set my mind on the stars, and I would have no footing, nothing to. I need a foundation first. I think that was the first lesson, like foundation first. So yeah, you can't achieve greatness, whatever that looks like to you, if you don't make sure that you're being, you're eating the right food, you're not, you're getting your exercise, you're making sure you're looking after your health, but both mentally and physically. Those things, you start with the small. Once you've got those things on lockdown, you can start building on that. You can't just go for it, and because you'll end up starting again and again, because it is the basics you've got to sort out first.
Completely agree.
I would say definitely like the life skills I've learned I can transfer from sport. Definitely sort of being disciplined and determined, like you said, and also having belief in yourself. But you will doubt yourself. But I would say definitely having belief in yourself. It's that period of time where you're like, should I do it? Should I not? And then you do it, and then you find out actually you can do it, and that happens quite a lot with me in general. But I'll definitely say it was more the social skills that I've gained, especially given the opportunity to coach and be in that social environment. You learn respect, you learn how to be integral with things, I think. And I feel like when you are integral, you can connect with people on a different level, and people can relate to that. Certainly the kind of people that you know you want to be around, or necessarily you like that kind of person. And again, it's that having that relativeness with that other person that can be a skill. And also I feel like recognizing that and being able to use that in that sort of dynamic is a really important thing, especially when you're like you say, going for a job interview, or you're meeting someone for the first time, or you're in a relationship. You kind of know yourself, what you need and what you don't need. And I feel like that's a skill in itself as well. Self-awareness is a huge skill. I don't care what anyone says, because there's so many people that aren't, and there's so many people that put in situations where you know yourself that you could do so much better in. It's about, like we were talking about earlier, the goal setting and what we want to achieve. And if we know ourselves, and if we know what we can and can't do, and we know where we are, then we know where we want to go. And I feel like that's really important.
Definitely agree with everything that's been said, especially on the self-awareness part. I definitely feel like that's what comes with failure. And I'll say that in the loosest term ever, because failure is so subjective. And I personally feel like a lot of interactions and skills like really give you building blocks. Like I look back on a lot of the things that maybe I didn't get, like in terms of opportunity wise, and when I look back, it's like, oh, that's nothing. Like I'm here now, I'm like in a much better place. Or sometimes it's come back around. So it's always good in that term of self-awareness to have that, because I feel like it can never lead you wrong, because you, as much as people, sometimes our identity has been taken away as a care experienced person, like we know ourselves better than anyone else would. And I think we know our limits as well. And when you're scared of something, I would definitely advise even my old self to go for it, because you being scared is actually you like fearing something highly important to you. Like you wouldn't be scared of something if you didn't have that thing inside you that's really wanting you to take that opportunity and use it. So I definitely think it's your body's response to a challenge as well, and definitely back away from a challenge if the opportunity is given to you, because sometimes you will surprise yourself. So yeah, that's definitely what I'll tell my younger self. And the saying, rejection is just redirection, that's one of the things.
In terms of what I would say to my younger self, I guess for me personally, I think it's more having that self-belief. Having self-belief is very important, because like without self-belief, you're kind of defeated. If you don't believe you can do something, like whether you believe you do or whether you believe you don't, I forgot the quote, but there's something around that, like what you believe happens. So I think having self-belief is important, and doing things, figuring out myself, like understanding why I'm doing things. So sometimes I'll be doing stuff because, I need to do it for my parents, or I need to do it for survival, but like making sure that you're doing things because it's what you want to do, or in terms of probably doing a course or going for a career, stuff like that, especially stuff like that. Because you don't want to do something and then like a year down the line, 2 years down the line, you're like, what have I done? So it's just that thing as well. But we're not perfect and we're going to make mistakes. I think sometimes going through that process, you kind of learn what you like and what you don't like. So I guess that would have helped me. So I would have said to my younger self, believe in yourself. And a part of that is knowing what you like and what you want to achieve, and making sure that it makes you happy. So that's what I would say to my younger self.
What I would say to my younger self is probably you don't have to make everyone happy as long as you make yourself happy. Just because, other people might think that you failed at this, that, and the other. Only you can control what happens in your life, and only you can be that person that's making things positive. For years when I was younger, I always thought, oh my God, I'm such a failure. I didn't do this, I didn't do that. And people, carers and social workers and stuff would always say, oh, you need to try harder, you need to do this, you need to do that, make something of your life. I mean, I haven't quite done that. I'm still working towards it. I still don't know what I want to do with my life. I struggled a lot when I was younger to figure out what I wanted to do or what I wanted to be when I grew up. I'm 26 in May, and I still don't know what I want to do. So if I could turn around and say to my younger self, you know, to live your life to the fullest and always be happy and not let anyone be horrible towards you or, you know, pick on you because you don't know what you want to do.
I don't think anyone's really like knows what they want to do for like life. Like you might find one thing and you're like, oh, I love this, I'm going to do this forever, and then it's like it gets step out and you're like, nah, I'm fed up with this. Like I need to chuck this. Like no one knows. Like there's still people who are like way older than us that are like, I still need to figure out what I need to do when I grow up.
Yeah, I still say that when I grow up, I want to be. Do you know what I mean? Like you always feel like you're young.
Yeah.
If I could tell my younger self, I would say, you define what success is, not anyone else. Make sure you've got your foundations. Don't walk before you can run. Let go of materialistic ideals that mean success is how much you're surrounded by, and focus on what you enjoy. So, you know, what's that saying? The whole like live to work and work to live kind of thing. Like, I feel like your work you should enjoy it, but it also should facilitate your enjoyment of life. So make sure that it is what you enjoy. And if it isn't, make sure it's not taking over your life to the point where you can't do things outside of work that you enjoy. Like, get off that treadmill. You don't need to be on the hamster wheel constantly. Take stock and appreciate your successes when they happen. Don't be like straight on to the next thing. I can't appreciate that because I need the next goal, the next goal, the next goal. You really do need to appreciate the small successes and the big ones as they happen. Don't just be consumed with the next thing. That's what I would tell my younger self.
And I think it's important, like when you stumble, like and you see something as a fail, like it doesn't mean that you're a failure. It just means that that's not the right time or the right place, or you've just not got enough energy. Like there's always another time, and like use that as a lesson.
Yeah. There was a part of me as well when I was younger that thought if I wasn't successful, i.e. didn't have those billions of pounds and jets and houses and all this kind of thing, then I deserved to be in care. Like that's the reason. And I linked I was like, if I'm successful in that mindset, like if I get all that money and everything, then I didn't deserve to be there. But if I didn't get all those things, that's why I ended up there, because I wasn't good enough. And I've completely let that go now. But that was one thing that it really locked in, and I was almost panicking that like the conflict inside me was like, you can't take a day off because you need to get all these things because that's what you're worth. Do you know what I mean? So that's something I really let go of. And now I'm much, much happier, and I can breathe.
Thanks so much, everyone, for sharing. That was brilliant. And thank you for listening. And remember, anything's achievable and you are a success. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Let's Talk Conflict.
We'd love to hear from you, so if you'd like to get in touch, you can reach us on Let's Talk Conflict at leapcc.org.uk or find us on Twitter and Instagram at leap_cc.
This podcast has been produced in partnership with Leap Confronting Conflict and edited by Helena Webb.
Let's Talk Conflict has been supported by the Esme Fairburn Foundation, the Kurt and Magda Stern Foundation, the Treebeard Trust and the Rain Foundation.
Next week, we discuss the good, the bad and the ugly of relationships. We explore red flags, boundary setting, self-worth and much more. So I hope you tune in to next week's episode.